The British monarchy is a fortress built on symbolism. Every gesture, every bowed head, and every gleaming stone pinned to a lapel is a sentence in an unspoken constitution. For decades, the royal family managed to keep its deepest fractures hidden behind palace walls. But in 2006, a crack appeared that no publicist could conceal. It was not an interview or a leaked letter. It was a piece of jewelry. Specifically, a shimmering cascade of diamonds and emeralds known as the Prince of Wales' feathers brooch. When Camilla, then Duchess of Cornwall, pinned that specific ornament to her coat, she walked into a trap set by the ghost of the woman who came before her. The public saw it instantly. The symbol of the heir apparent, once worn as a swinging pendant by Diana, was now rigidly pinned over Camilla's heart. It was not a fashion choice. It was a declaration of territory, and the silent, sparkling war for the legacy of the House of Windsor had begun in earnest. To understand why a simple brooch caused an international scandal, one must understand the physical transformation Diana enacted upon royal heirlooms. When Diana Spencer married into the family in 1981, she inherited the heavy Victorian-era Prince of Wales feathers brooch. In its original form, it was a stiff badge of Office 3 ostrich feathers carved in diamonds rising from a golden coronet, with a teardrop emerald dangling below. Previous royal wives wore it high on the shoulder, a mark of duty rather than beauty. Diana, however, possessed an instinct that courtiers lacked. She found the brooch matronly. In a stroke of rebellious genius, she removed the pin mechanism and strung the heavy ornament onto a thick platinum chain. She transformed a dusty badge of service into a sexy swinging pendant necklace. She wore it at the Royal Opera House and on state visits to Japan. The emerald drop rested against her bare collarbone, catching the flashbulbs of a world that couldn't get enough of her. In the public imagination, it ceased to be the Prince of Wales' feathers. It became Diana's emerald necklace. After Diana's tragic death in 1997, the piece returned to the vault, a silent, frozen relic. For nearly a decade, the palace maintained an unspoken rule. Camilla must build her own identity. She could not touch the artifacts of the People's Princess. Yet, on the night of the History Boys premiere in London, 2006, the firewall collapsed. Camilla arrived in a severe dark velvet coat. Pinned to the lapel was the feathers brooch, but it was not the necklace the world remembered. Camilla had taken the piece to the royal workshop. She had systematically undone Diana's modification. The platinum chain was gone. The swinging motion was erased. The jewel had been reverted to its original stiff Victorian function. The message was unmistakably symbolic. I am the wife of the Prince of Wales now, and I will erase the modernizer. I will return this house to its traditional roots. The tabloids ran side-by-side photos of Diana's joyful swing versus Camilla's rigid pin. The verdict was brutal. The public saw it as an act of erasure, an attempt to unpin Diana's memory from the very fabric of the monarchy. The feathers brooch was only the opening salvo. The second major clash involved a piece of military heritage, the Welsh Guards' leek brooch. The leek is the national emblem of Wales, and the diamond replica presented to Queen Elizabeth II in 1960 became a staple of Diana's wardrobe during her years as Princess of Wales. She wore it with vibrant red and white ensembles, mirroring the Welsh flag, and used it to build a bridge to the military families who adored her. Decades later, when Camilla assumed the role of Colonel of the Welsh Guards, the brooch came with the territory. When she stepped out wearing the exact same diamond vegetable, a spiky cluster of gems, the ghosts awoke again. It wasn't just a jewel. It was a uniform. Every time Camilla pinned that leek to her chest, the public saw a phantom image of a young, smiling Diana standing in the exact same spot, wearing the exact same diamonds. The palace realized a terrifying truth. Camilla could not win a side-by-side comparison. If she wore Diana's pieces, she was the wicked stepmother stealing relics. If she did not wear them, she was hiding from history. A new strategy was needed: total visual quarantine. The most explosive weapon in this silent war, however, was not a brooch or a necklace. It was a crown, specifically, the Cambridge Lover's Knot tiara. This towering structure of 19 diamond arches and suspended Baroque pearls is arguably the most famous diadem in the world. Diana famously complained that it gave her headaches. The swinging pearls were heavy and relentless, yet she wore it with such grace that it became her halo. When she divorced Prince Charles, the lover's knot was returned to the Queen's vault. Legally, when Camilla married the heir apparent, she had the right to borrow it, but she never touched it. Not once, for over a decade. The tiara remained locked in the dark. Why? Because the palace PR machine knew that the lover's knot was radioactive. Imagine the photograph Camilla, the woman blamed for destroying the fairy tale, arriving at a state banquet wearing the exact crown that sat upon Diana's head during her happiest and most miserable years. It would have looked like the ultimate act of theft. The courtiers enacted a silent ban. The tiara lay dormant until 2015, when the palace bypassed Camilla entirely, jumping a generation to loan the lover's knot to Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge. It was a safe, celebratory handover to a beloved daughter-in-law, and a clear signal that Camilla would never be allowed to claim that specific throne of ice. If the tiaras were forbidden, the engagement ring presented an even more delicate crisis. When Charles proposed to Lady Diana Spencer in 1981, he gave her a massive 12-carat blue sapphire, surrounded by 14 solitaire diamonds. Diana made sapphires her signature. She wore the Saudi sapphire suite and the infamous revenge choker on the night Charles confessed his adultery. By 2005, the deep velvet blue of a sapphire was inextricably linked to Diana's tragedy. So, how do you propose to the other woman? You cannot give her a blue stone. The palace knew that if Charles placed a sapphire on Camilla's finger, the headlines would scream of replacement. The comparison would be apocalyptic. Charles had to pivot completely. He turned to his grandmother, the Queen Mother. The engagement ring he gave Camilla is a stunning Art Deco piece, a massive square-cut central diamond estimated at 5 carats, flanked by 3 diamond baguettes on each side. It is set in platinum. Where Diana's ring was round, blue and modern, bought from a catalog, Camilla's is square, clear and antique, a family heirloom with the unimpeachable provenance of the universally beloved Queen Mother. Charles wrapped Camilla in the protective aura of his grandmother to hide her from the ghost of his first wife. It was a masterstroke of public relations, but it left Camilla with an identity crisis. If Diana was the Princess of Sapphires, what stone was left for Camilla? The answer arrived in the form of the Greville bequest. This was a hoard of staggering, aggressive wealth left to the Queen Mother in 1942. It was the jewelry of the old establishment, massive, heavy, and unapologetic. Where Diana favored delicate pearls and modern sapphires, Camilla embraced the fortress diamonds. The centerpiece became the Greville honeycomb tiara. Created by Boucheron in 1921, it is not a delicate fairy tale crown. It is a solid wall of diamond honeycombs that sits tall and wide on the head. The Queen Mother added more diamonds to the top in 1953 to make it more imposing. When Camilla began wearing the honeycomb tiara, the transformation was immediate. She didn't look like a princess. She looked like a dowager, and that was exactly the point. The public, who would have torn her apart for wearing Diana's swinging pearls, accepted her in the solid diamonds of the Queen Mother. To complete the armor, Camilla added the Greville festoon necklace. This Cartier piece is a blinding waterfall of light that can be worn in up to 5 rows, completely covering the décolletage. It creates a physical barrier of diamonds between Camilla and the public. Diana used jewelry to connect with people. Camilla uses it to project untouchable institutional grandeur. The final act of this long, sparkling war played out on a rainy Saturday in May 2023. The prize was the title Diana had famously predicted would never be hers. "I don't see myself being queen of this country," Diana had said in 1995. But Camilla Parker Bowles, the woman once branded the most hated woman in the country, survived. She played the long game. At the coronation of King Charles III, the crown placed upon Camilla's head was Queen Mary's crown. The choice was a deep historical maneuver. To avoid diplomatic controversy over the infamous Koh-i-Noor diamond, the palace removed the ancient stone and replaced it with the Cullinan 3, 4, and V diamonds. These were Queen Elizabeth II's personal favorites, which she called Granny's chips. By placing the late Queen's favorite diamonds front and center on Camilla's coronation crown, the message was louder than any trumpet fanfare star. This is not Diana's triumph. This is Camilla's validation by the late Queen herself. Star. When the Archbishop of Canterbury placed that heavy crown on Camilla's head, the ghost of Diana was finally, permanently laid to rest. The woman who started her royal life terrified of wearing a single sapphire, who had to build an anti-Guyana shield of heavy Edwardian diamonds just to survive the public glare, was now sitting on the throne. She had taken the husband, the title, and the ultimate symbol of the monarchy. The story of these two women is written in the stones they chose. Diana used jewelry to communicate her pain, her rebellion, and her incandescent glamour. Camilla used jewelry to build a fortress, to weather the storm, and to outlast the tragedy. In the end, the vault did not belong to the most beloved princess. It belonged to the most patient queen. The ultimate insult was not a stolen necklace or a repurposed brooch. It was time itself. Diana's jewels are frozen in the 1980s and 90s, locked in the silent vault. But Camilla's crown? That is the reality of today. The battle is over. The fortress has held.